Creation does not happen by issuing commands. It happens by sampling from possibility. That is the single most important thing you need to understand if you want to change anything about your life, your mind, or the world around you. We are raised with this military idea of success, where you have a plan, you issue orders to yourself, and you force reality to bend to your will. But that is not how nature works. That is not how learning works. And that is not how the universe works. Look at evolution. There is no designer sitting in the clouds drawing a blueprint for a cheetah. No one commanded the cheetah to exist. Nature just sampled mutations. It tried things out. It sampled from the noise, kept what worked, and discarded what didn't. Selection followed the sampling. Look at artificial intelligence. When an AI makes an image, it doesn't draw it line by line like an architect. It starts with static noise, pure chaos, and it gently nudges that noise, sampling patterns, guided by a bias, until a picture emerges. It is guided by a gentle slope, never by force. The universe does not obey orders, it explores. This leads to a concept called collapse. Every time you focus your attention, you are narrowing down the future. In physics, they call this collapsing the wave function. In psychology, we call it expectation. But here is the trap. Collapse doesn't reveal the truth. It just selects one path among a million options. If you wake up looking for reasons to be annoyed, you will find them. You aren't discovering an annoying world. You are collapsing your reality into the annoying version of itself. What you notice becomes more likely. What you fear becomes rehearsed. Collapse doesn't tell you what reality is. It tells reality which version of itself to practice. And this is where most people mess up. They try to control the collapse too tightly. But there is a moment in every intelligent system where control must step back. We think if we stare harder at the problem, we'll solve it. But too much attention freezes learning. Too much supervision destabilizes the system. Think about a wound on your skin. You don't command the cells to repair. In fact, if you poke it and micromanage it, it won't heal. You have to withdraw. Withdrawal is not passivity. It is the intelligence of knowing when to get out of the way so coherence can appear by itself. Complex systems discover solutions that no planner could ever design, but only if you give them the space to emerge. If you constrain the future too tightly, you become brittle. In therapy, this looks like fixation. In life, it looks like anxiety. When everything is forced to converge too early, nothing truly new can appear. Excessive control suffocates the very thing you are trying to build. So, if we can't command the future, what do? We train it. This is the core doctrine you need to integrate. No future arrives fully formed. Futures are trained. They are trained by repetition, by habit, by rhythm, and by the quiet reinforcement of what becomes easy. Evolution trains landscapes. Therapy trains nervous systems. Destiny is not commanded, it is rehearsed. Every single time you pay attention to something, you are teaching your brain what to expect next. Attention is not neutral observation. Attention is instruction. You are programming the algorithm of your own life with every glance and every thought. But be careful. You can't just let go of the wheel entirely. Freedom without structure just becomes noise. Without a bias, no form appears. If you are too open, you dissolve. You need a minimum bias threshold. You need a gentle slope towards something rather than nothing. Creation lives in a very specific, narrow band between fixation and drift. Too much control, and you freeze. Too little control, and you melt. Magic, if it exists at all, lives right in that middle ground. That is where learning happens. That is where intelligence appears. Stop trying to change events. That is low-level power. True power shapes landscapes, not events. The deepest influence never touches the specific outcome. It changes the terrain from which the outcomes emerge. If you want to change your life, don't try to micromanage the moment. Reshape the nervous system that perceives the moment. Don't try to force a specific future. Train the landscape so that the future you want becomes the most natural thing to happen. You have to respect the scale of things. You cannot micromanage your cells, and you cannot micromanage the universe. You can only guide the scale you can perceive. Many futures die not because they were impossible, but because they were collapsed too early by fear or the need for certainty. We rush to define things because the unknown is scary, but withdrawal keeps futures alive long enough to discover what they might actually become. These aren't laws. They are patterns that show up whenever any system, biological, digital, or spiritual, learns how to become something new. You don't have to call it magic or science. It's just a fiction designed to edit how we participate in reality. And the beautiful thing is, when the fiction has done its work and you finally stop forcing and start guiding, the story no longer needs an author.
Bright. I was never lost, just hiding